Welcome back to Guyana News Updates. The political landscape in Guyana is heating up as we approach the September 1, 2025, general and regional elections. Today's source is quoted from an article written by journalist Dennis Chabrol from the Demerara Waves. The incumbent People's Progressive Party, PPP, is exuding confidence, with General Secretary Barrett Jagdeo asserting they will secure a decisive victory. He attributes this optimism to the work we have done and their commitment to the people of the country. The PPP is projecting a 60% share of an estimated 500,000 voter turnout, aiming for approximately 300,000 votes. Notably, the PPP is not considering any alliances with other parties, even if they achieve a plurality rather than a simple majority. A significant development is the presidential bid of city businessman Mohamed. His team Mohamed's Facebook page showcases edited videos that suggest he is attracting large crowds in Amerindian communities, as well as Afro and Indo-Guyanese villages. However, the PPP remains unfazed. Jagdeo has stated they are not afraid of him and believes he will not make any difference whatsoever electorally. He also dismissed the turnouts as small numbers and characterized them as a mix of curious attendees, including PPP supporters. Furthermore, PPP leadership criticizes Mohamed, claiming he lacks any integrity, citing allegations of over 10,000 kilograms of gold smuggling and more than $50 million in tax evasion between 2019 and 2023. We'll delve deeper into these crucial dynamics. Is the PPP's projected 60% vote share a foregone conclusion? Or could new players, despite the ruling party's dismissals, shift the political tide? Historical voting patterns suggest potential volatility. The Working People's Alliance, WPA, forecasts tight voting patterns reflective of previous race-based voting, a prediction that Jagdeo has dismissed. For context, in the 2020 general election, the PPP secured 233,336 valid votes, while a Partnership for National Unity plus Alliance for Change, APNU plus AFC, garnered 217,920 votes. In the 2015 elections, the PPP even lost control of the Region 8 Council to the APNU plus AFC by 1 seat. Stay ahead of the curve with all the latest political insights and analyses from Guyana. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an update from Guyana News Updates. The discussion begins now.
Okay, let's unpack this. We're diving deep into a fascinating snapshot of the political landscape in Guyana, specifically looking at the run-up to the September 1, 2025 general and regional elections.
That's right. And for this deep dive, we're focusing entirely on one source. It's an article from Demerara Waves Online News, dated Friday, June 6, 2025. The headline really sets the stage, as Mohamed poses no electoral threat to PPP Jagdeo.
Yeah, quite a headline. So our mission here is pretty straightforward. We're going through this specific article to understand what Jagdeo, the General Secretary of the ruling PPP, reportedly said. Specifically about businessman Mohamed and his potential run for president, we're sticking just to what's in this piece.
Exactly. And the article jumps right in. It highlights Jagdeo's main point from his press conference that was on Thursday, June 5th.
Yes, the core message reported is that Mohamed running, well, it would not lead to defeat for the PPP. Pretty blunt. The article actually quotes Jagdeo directly saying, "We are not afraid of him."
Mm-hmm. And then adds, even more strongly, he's not going to make any difference whatsoever.
Wow, okay. So, a very clear dismissal right out of the gate. The article then explains, why Jagdeo feels this way, why the confidence.
Well, according to the report, he connects it to the work we have done, and also having kept faith with the people of this country. Standard political framing, perhaps.
Sure, but he doesn't just leave it there, does he? The article says he gets into numbers, projections.
Yeah, he does. He apparently gave a rough estimate for voter turnout in 2025, around 500,000 people.
Okay, 500,000. And based on that?
Based on that number, the article reports he predicted the PPP would win 60%, which, works out to 300,000 votes for them.
Right. And his point then was that still leaves, 200,000 votes for all the other parties combined?
Precisely. That was his calculation presented in the article. And he even broke it down further, apparently, for the 65-seat National Assembly.
Ah, yes, the votes per seat estimate. What was it?
The article mentions he estimated needing about 7,692 votes per seat. sort of setting his perceived threshold for victory.
Okay, so he's laying out his math, but the article smartly gives us some context, right? It brings in the 2020 election result.
It does, yeah. Very helpful comparison. The report states the total valid votes cast in 2020 were 460,352. Out of slightly more total cast, but that's the valid count.
And the breakdown of those valid votes.
The PPP got 233,336. And the main opposition then, APNU plus AFC, they got 217,920.
So a closer race back then than his 60% projection implies for 2025. And the rest, those other parties.
Just over 9,000 votes, 9,096, split among 7 smaller parties. Really scattered.
So the article itself juxtaposes Jagdeo's confident 2025 prediction against those actual 2020 numbers.
Yeah, it lays it out clearly. But okay, while Jagdeo's talking numbers and confidence, the article also touches on what Mohamed himself has been up to, publicly at least.
Right, the videos. It mentions edited videos on his Team Mohamed's Facebook page.
And describes them as showing Mohamed attracting large numbers of people. That's the quote from the piece.
Interesting. And where were these gatherings happening?
The article notes a mix of locations. It mentions Amerindian communities specifically, but also several Afro and Indo-Guyanese villages as well, so seemingly broad outreach.
But there's a key detail the article points out about what's not in those videos, isn't there?
Yes, exactly. It says you mostly see attendees speaking, or just shots of Mohamed. But apparently none of the videos featured Mohamed actually delivering, a formal speech or address.
So visible presence, but maybe not traditional campaigning just yet, based on this report. How did Jagdeo react to these turnouts then? Especially in those Amerindian areas mentioned.
Well, the article reports Jagdeo claimed that a lot of our party supporters told him they went mostly out of curiosity because they'd, quote, never seen him before. That was his explanation, as reported.
So downplaying it. Did he characterize the crowds?
Yeah, the report says he called the attendees a mix and dismissed the turnouts as small numbers.
Right, so pushing back against the visual impression from the videos.
The article also slips in a little historical note here about the 2015 elections.
Oh, yeah. What was that?
Just mentions that back in 2015, the PPP lost control of the Region 8 Council Pataro Siparuni, lost it to APNU plus AFC by just 1 seat. Maybe implying shifts in support can happen regionally.
Interesting context dropped by the source. Okay, so looking forward again, what about alliances? The article says Jagdeo was asked about potentially working with Mohamed's party, which isn't even named yet. Like, if the PPP only got a plurality, not a full majority.
Right, the hypothetical scenario. And according to the article, Jagdeo just shrugged off the question.
Didn't engage.
Nope. His reported response was simply, I'm not dealing with hypotheticals now. End of discussion, apparently.
Okay. And the article also mentions he dismissed some other predictions from the WPA.
Yeah, the Working People's Alliance. They apparently forecast a tight race, possibly along traditional ethnic lines. Jagdeo, according to this report, wasn't having any of that analysis either, pushing his own narrative of a clear win.
So consistent messaging of confidence and dismissal of challenges. But then the article gets into something, well, quite a bit sharper, Jagdeo's view on Mohamed's integrity.
Yes, this is probably the most pointed part of the report on Jagdeo's comments. The piece states flat out that Jagdeo believes Guyanese people have concluded Mohamed lacks any integrity.
Strong words. And did the article say why Jagdeo believes this? Did he give examples?
He did, according to the report. Jagdeo apparently cited 2 specific things. First, questions around the actual cost of Mohamed's Lamborghini.
Okay. And the second?
The second was much more serious, alleged gold smuggling. The article reports Jagdeo mentioned alleged smuggling of over 10,000 kilograms of gold.
Wow. And the consequence of that alleged smuggling?
Jagdeo reportedly claimed it led to evading more than $50 million in taxes owed to the GRA, the Guyana Revenue Authority, between 2019 and 2023 specifically.
Okay, now it is absolutely crucial here, and the article does attribute this. We need to be crystal clear. We are reporting what the article says Jagdeo stated. These are allegations Jagdeo reportedly made about Mohamed and his perception of public opinion. We are not presenting these claims about the car or the gold as established facts ourselves.
Absolutely. Critical distinction. Our focus is purely on the content of this news report about Jagdeo's press conference.
Yeah.
What he's reported to have said is the subject here.
Exactly. So let's try to wrap this up. What have we learned from this deep dive into this one Demara Waves article?
Well, we've seen how one very key political figure, Mohamed Jagdeo, is publicly framing a potential challenger, Azrudin Mohamed, months ahead of the election. at least based on this single snapshot from June 6th.
Yeah, we saw the dismissal, the confidence backed by his specific numbers, his reaction or reported reaction to Mohammed's visibility through those videos.
Right, dismissing the crowds, suggesting curiosity, also his refusal to discuss hypothetical alliances, and then, of course, the direct comments reported on Mohammed's integrity.
So this article gives you, the listener, a really clear window into the specific points and the kind of rhetoric being reported from one side in this early stage.
Definitely. And just based only on what we've unpacked from this single source, here's a thought to leave you with. When a political leader, as reported here, goes on the offensive, so strongly dismissing a potential rival as no threat and directly attacking their reported integrity, what does that particular strategy suggest about how they perceive the political landscape, or perhaps how they want the public to perceive it? Something to ponder as you see more reporting like this.